All right, thank you. I would like to call to order the meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen for Tuesday, April 6th. I do have a few additions and one deletion from our agenda tonight. If you would delete letter 1 under B, under Human Resources, and you'll see that Ashley has arranged our consent agenda in a different order tonight so that it is easier to categorize. So 1 under Human Resources is deleted. If you would add, please, at 14A, to accept a donation from Home Depot, and it's a construction saw. If you will add at 16A, to consider a request from C Spire for a revocable license on city property outside of the right-of-way. If you would add at 17A, to approve an advertisement for Director of Animal Resource Center. And if you would add at 18A, to accept revocable license from GSA for the East Jackson Avenue Streetscape project. Are there any other additions or changes from any department heads? Or Ashley, do you have anything else? Okay. So with that 1 subtraction and 4 additions, could we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Move we approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, a quick mayor's report tonight. I am super excited to announce that Oxford is in the championship round of the Strongest Towns competition. Please vote before Thursday at noon to secure our spot. I had a good time in a phone conversation / debate with Chuck Marone, who is the president of Strong Towns, and Mayor Steve Strite from Lockport, Illinois, and they have a wonderful town, and it was fun to get to compare notes and talk about what makes our community so great. So please go and vote before Thursday at noon. We hosted Congressman Trent Kelly's office at City Hall along with county and university representatives yesterday to discuss infrastructure initiatives, and we've not been able to go to DC over the past year, so it was great to have them here to be able to discuss with them our transportation plan and our infrastructure needs moving forward. If you've noticed out back, we have a beautiful mural that is being completed on the wall behind City Hall. So if you've not seen it yet, please go back there and check it out. It is wonderful. The greetings tour has been here since, I guess, Friday maybe, and working on that mural, and they're still another day or two away from completing it. But please go by and see it, and know that we will have another public art installation, a sculpture that will be installed in the roundabout by South Lamar and Belt Boulevard towards the end of this month. We will have our pop-up Oxford Spring Edition starting April 22nd and going through May 16th. So look for some exciting events cropping up around town for those few weeks. Our shelter expert, Dr. Sarah Pisano, was in town yesterday, and she toured the shelter. She met with city and county leaders to discuss a path forward and a new life for the facility. She met with our city attorney to discuss changes and improvements that could be made to our city ordinances. She met with a local vet who's inspected the facility and with a director of one of the local rescue groups. And so we are super excited after spending the day with her to see the future for our Animal Resource Center, and we believe our community is going to be really excited about that too. Dr. Pisano has helped us understand what some of the challenges have been for shelter management over the previous years and why a new mindset and a new philosophy are needed. She explained that traditionally animals have flooded into open admission shelters freely. So that from the moment of intake, they entered a system in reactive and therefore chronic crisis mode. Yet our shelter intake has been thought of as really the only avenue to help animals in need, and this intake bias has been deeply embedded in our society. We have felt out of control within a system ironically called animal control. Instead, we should view an overcrowded shelter as a symptom of the lack of proactive programs and draw our attention to the community level. So Dr. Pisano has explained that by creating a foundation of interwoven systems using facts and data and research and trends that we can productively decrease the number of pets entering the shelter and end euthanasia as population control in our community. We are focusing on redesigning the wasteful practices by using our finite resources more strategically and working smarter. Shelter space, as we know, is a precious commodity, and it's going to be reserved for victims of cruelty and neglect and abandonment, and for those pets with no other alternative. The way that we've been operating is just a broken system. Our end goals from this point forward are to preserve the human-animal bond by keeping pets in their homes, or to help pet owners rehome directly so that they bypass the shelter so that both pets and people benefit. Our shelter staff is considered the help team, and they will have the opportunity to work to meet the physical and emotional needs of each pet admitted to our care and provide the most compassionate environment free from frustration and fear and anxiety and stress during the shortest length of stay to result in live outcome. Animals picked up by our animal resource officer are being delivered to the Animal Resource Center. We've picked up a total of 5 animals. We have hired 2 kennel attendants and an animal resource officer, and he will start next week. And until he starts next week, OPD will continue to perform our animal control. So I'm going to ask the board, as you heard me add a moment ago, to approve the advertisement for a director of the Animal Resource Center this evening. And we are going to discuss recommendations from our shelter consultant on moving forward, such as building improvements in budget and future staffing, et cetera, in a work session that I'm going to call in the coming weeks. So that is it for Mayor's report tonight. I will ask you to authorize the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on March 16th, the special meeting on March 24th, and the special meeting on March 29th.
I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll ask you to authorize the approval of accounts for all city departments.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then I'll ask you to consider a pretty lengthy consent agenda.
Move we approve the consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, at this time, we will adopt a proclamation declaring April 4th through the 10th, 2021 as Junior Auxiliary Week. And I know that we have some members of Junior Auxiliary here, so if y'all would raise your hand so the board can see who's here representing Junior Auxiliary, we very much appreciate you being here. And we have Mary Francis on the back row, who is also the Junior Auxiliary mascot tonight, the most beautiful mascot on the back row. So I'm gonna read this proclamation for Junior Auxiliary. Whereas the Junior Auxiliary of Oxford, Mississippi, a chapter of the 80th-year-old National Association of Junior Auxiliaries Incorporated, represents a serious endeavor on the part of women to be active and constructive participants in the community and to assume responsible leadership in meeting community needs. And whereas the mission of the National Association of Junior Auxiliaries Incorporated is to encourage member chapters to render charitable services which are beneficial to the general public, with particular emphasis on children, and to cooperate with other organizations performing similar services. And whereas the Junior Auxiliary of Oxford, Mississippi works actively to perform the mission of the National Association of Junior Auxiliaries in this community since 1989, and we appreciate its efforts. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Robin Tannehill, Mayor of the City of Oxford, Mississippi, do hereby designate the week of April 4th through the 10th, 2021 as Junior Auxiliary Week in Oxford, Mississippi, sponsored by the National Association of Junior Auxiliaries, and urge all citizens, civic and fraternal groups, news media, and other community organizations to join in the salute to Junior Auxiliary volunteers who have been an important presence in this community since 1989. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Oxford, Mississippi to be affixed this, the 6th day of April 2021. We thank you so much for the work that you do for our community. It does not go unnoticed, and you are making this a better place to live, and we appreciate your help. Could I have a motion to adopt this proclamation?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is to discuss COVID-19 current restrictions and guidelines. So we will start with an update on numbers from Jimmy Allgood.
We're reporting in a new format, starting this meeting instead of the daily. Compared to other counties, it'll benefit us more to look at a weekly, as reported by the health department, so we can see what our 7-day average is doing. And this is the new layout right here, and we went all the way back to the weekend in the 6th of February and came all the way to the current week. And you can see what we're doing on a 7-day case average. That we're generally trending downward. We have some weeks that it ticks up, but overall, when you look at the graphs the state health department is putting out, we're on a downward trend. Today's numbers, state had 183 cases with 18 deaths reported. Lafayette County had no new cases. Our total number is 5,980. For this week, since I couldn't include it in the 7-day average, we've had 6 cases, 5 cases, and 0 cases for the 3 days that we're in this reporting week. So we're only at 11 cases so far for this week. The hospital numbers are included on this. As you can see, what Baptist numbers are. Right now, they have a total staff beds of 181. Total confirmed COVID-19 patients are only 9 in the hospital. Available staff beds are 62, so we have plenty of beds available through Baptist. Total ICU adult beds are 24 available. We have 1 COVID patient in ICU and 18 ICU beds available. So the numbers are looking really good as far as hospital goes.
It does look good. Does anybody have any questions for Jimmy? You want to give us a vaccination update? Can you give us a?
No vaccinations were given today because of the municipal elections, but they're keeping a full schedule. There are plenty of appointments available. They open at any time. They're averaging anywhere from 700 to 1,200 vaccinations a day at this site. But we want to stress that there are plenty of appointments available. Please go on and make your appointment. Because there is no shortage of vaccine that we have seen.
And not only are they being given free all day long at the National Guard Armory, but you can also get them at Kroger, Walmart, and I've seen several different pharmacies.
Several different pharmacies, CVS.
I think G&M, I saw advertising. I think there's several that do, and if you just put in the Google search, vaccinations in Oxford, Mississippi, a list will pop up, and most all of those, I believe you can register online at their particular websites to be able to get shots. So we encourage everybody to make the choice to be part of the solution.
Exactly.
Any other questions for Jimmy? Only one. Do you have something else?
Well, there was, last week the governor did update his executive order for the state. The 2 items that he addressed were the arenas. He put capacity at 75% in arenas, and at school functions, K through 12, their indoor events can now be at 50%.
Okay. All right. The only thing that I wanted to bring up, we've had several businesses mention this and citizens, is the curbside parking spots. Now that all sporting events are back to full capacity and restaurants are back to full capacity, we've had several mention that they would prefer with these larger crowds in town to have parking spots that people could park in to get into their businesses quickly on those blocks rather than curbside, which is not, from my understanding, being offered as much. Those are being used for people to park in to run in and get things. There's not actual curbside dining going on. So we had decided that we would leave the outdoor dining that is on sidewalks and in parking spaces, but I would ask you to consider what you'd like to do with the curbside parking spots.
I mean, I think it's time we probably pull the hoods and put those parking spots back in the revenue.
I agree. If they're not being used, I mean, those are critical parking spots that could be available.
They are,
And we're also at 100% capacity now.
Yeah, that is my thought as well. I think it is important for all of our shops to have those parking spots back in the inventory, so.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, any other discussions or comments on that?
Mayor, I would make a motion that we follow the governor's guidelines on these other two things, but I don't know if we have anything that actually,
We don't.
I don't believe we do have anything.
I don't think so either,
Yeah.
so.
We don't. Okay, so we have a motion to take the hoods off of the curbside parking spots and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Are there any other conditions or safety regulations that anyone wants to consider under guidelines? All right, then we will move to the next. Thank you, Jimmy. Request permission to apply for the Community Rides Grant Program through National RTAP. Donna? Good evening.
So there's a grant through RTAP, which is the National Rural Transit Association or Assistance Program, that is opened on April the 7th, and it's due May 10th. There's a maximum of $100,000 that can be awarded. No minimum grant award is listed. There's no local match, and this grant will last for 15 months, so it will end September 30th, 2022. And the purpose of this grant is to help improve the critical needs like employment, healthcare, healthy food, social services, recreation, education. It's granted to the recipients that have the 5311 grant. And our goals are to try to strengthen the areas that we have partnerships through the city and throughout, as well as reaching out to our county outside the city limits to try to offer services through them. The second thing is to fill gaps that are already in our service, which is areas that we're annexed in through the city that we're not servicing. We do have people that have called. I have had some of the aldermen that have called also wanting to know when we were going to start servicing those areas. So this money will also go to look and investigate what those areas and where the need is and where it lies by surveys or whatever we need to get those areas where we can start offering services. There's also several other funds available that's for transportation. There's over 130 non-DOT federal programs that fund human services transportation. So there's other monies out there that we could get a hold of that when we start looking into other programs and try to offer transit to assist other people, we can probably go and try to get other grants to assist with our local match as we try to
Like something we
improve.
ought to apply for, I'll make a motion, we do.
Second?
All right, any questions of Donna? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Any
you.
opposed? Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
All right, Chris Carter, to consider a request from the Oxford School District for a waiver of land disturbance and building permit fees for the reissuance of expired permits. Mr. Carter?
Hey, how are y'all this evening?
Good.
Pretty simple. The school district's building a softball, baseball complex out there. They got a lot of their dirt work done. They permitted this thing, paid for the permits back in 19, got a lot of their dirt work done. About the time the COVID stuff hit, and they opted to postpone all the construction. In the meanwhile, permits expired. So just they're looking for permission, or I guess a waiver of paying those fees again.
Yeah, I move we approve.
All right, any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Request permission to adopt a body-worn camera policy for the Development Services Building Department. Chris?
As y'all see, we have some new toys in the department. They are exactly the same things that our police department utilizes as far as body-worn cameras. I took the police department's policy, or usage policy for these cameras, kind of pared it down a little bit to a lot of stuff that doesn't pertain to us. It's more specific to police. Cleaned it up a little for just where it pertained more to the building and the zoning inspectors. Trust y'all have had an opportunity to look over that and entertain any questions you might have.
I think it's a good thing, and I think we should make a motion to allow the permission to adopt.
Second.
All right, any questions or comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
All right, Chief McCutcheon, consider a request from the Country Club of Oxford to host their annual fireworks display on the golf course driving range at 9:00 p.m. on July 2nd. And if it rains, they will bump it to the 3rd.
Yes,
Pretty,
ma'am.
pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? All right, so may I have any
Motion to approve.
questions?
Second.
Motion to approve.
Okay, a motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Request permission for start to finish event management to hold a 5K and Kids Fun Run for CASA of Lafayette County on October 30th from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Very similar to the one we do each year with them.
Anybody have any questions? You've got the route attached and all the details.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Request permission for Claude Gunner to host the Velvet Ditch Grand Fundo Cycling Event on May 15th from 6:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. This is gonna be a great event for our community. It'll be our first bike race, so
be a
I am very
city-county
excited about it.
Yep.
I think it's gonna be great. Anybody have any questions about it? Again, you've got the request and the route and all in your packet.
Move we approve.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and then we added to the agenda to accept a donation from Home Depot. You want to tell them what it is, Jeff?
This is a construction saw that we can use at different situations. They donated this to us, so there's no match to it. We try to use OFD as much as we can, but there are times where, just from a safety standpoint, we may not be able to utilize them. This gives our officers an opportunity to train on this tool and use it as well.
Awesome.
Yep.
Move we approve.
All right. All in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you, Home Depot.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right, Brianna, consider the acceptance of infrastructure in the Heights, phases 16 and 18 at Oxford Commons.
Yes. These two phases have been completed, and we've done the inspection. We're ready to accept maintenance of the water, sewer, and street. The bonds are in place, and so I would recommend acceptance of water, sewer, and street infrastructure with the reduction of the performance bond, as noted. Sidewalk and the final lift still remain, and they'll be bonded.
Okay.
Move we approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consider change order number 7, wastewater treatment plant flow equalization project with no cost to the city.
Yes.
This is becoming a thing.
It is becoming a thing, and it's becoming a thing on a part of the project that doesn't even have a pay item directly
Right.
associated with it. It's the smallest detail, but critical. So what we have learned, as I've noted in your memo, is during our week of the extreme temperatures, the sealant previously approved started developing some cracking, and they are small, but they are there. And so the other sealant still has not cracked. The reason that sealant was not selected the first time is because it's such a labor-intensive process to install it, that we were gonna try to avoid having to do that.
Right.
So I'm now coming back to recommend we change the material sealant. This is what was originally part of the contract approvals. The manufacturer honors all warranties, and there is a request for an additional 98 days because at this point now we are having to flood the basin. The water table in that area has come up so high that we're concerned it's gonna lift that concrete out of the ground like a swimming pool. And so we've flooded the basin, closed off the gate so the rainwater can flood it. And so we've got to wait now for summer months for the water table to go down so that we can get in there, drain the basin, clean it, and install this. And I hope that this is the last time I stand in front of you until it's time to accept maintenance.
Well, I'm
So,
just glad to know that you know how to do that. So, that is way above my pay grade. But it sounds like you've got it well under control. So do we have a motion to accept the change order number 7?
So moved.
All right, so that's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Another addition that we had earlier, consider a request from C Spire for revocable licenses on city property outside of the right-of-way. Brianna?
C Spire submitted 2 utility permits to install on the right-of-way, but they also included work outside the right-of-way on private property. The first one is at the Jackson Avenue 9th Street parking lot, and they want to go through that parking lot to serve the sheriff's department. The second one is at the Oxford Conference Center, and they want to come through the Oxford Conference Center property there to serve Pine Lake Church. And I'm asking for these as revocable licenses because our utility permit doesn't expressly cover work outside the right-of-way. So I wanted to make sure that we're covered for that. And I would ask for 2 motions separate so that each one has its own independent vote. And I would ask with the conditions that the license is limited to what is shown in the construction plans provided, and that all work must comply with any conditions granted as part of the right-of-way permit. So when I issue that permit, I will note the license, and I will note they have to coordinate with Matt and with Hayden for that work, so that they have complete control over the work on their part.
I'll make that motion on the first one.
Okay?
Okay, so that'll be the Johnson Avenue, I mean, the
Jackson
9th.
9th.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed?
I'll
Okay,
make that same motion on the
conference center.
conference center.
Center. And I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Rihanna. Thank you. We have next on our agenda to accept a donation from Mississippi Critters for animal care items and equipment located at the Animal Resource Center. We have transitioned Mississippi Critters out and our new Animal Resource Center in, and we very much appreciate the smooth transition from Mississippi Critters. And so Bart, take us through what we need to accept.
The item is just what it says, it's for the equipment that has remained in the shelter, including cages, kennels, dog carriers, and bowls, all the equipment that they left.
Move we accept the donation.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, I would ask you then to consider the approval of an advertisement for a director of the Animal Resource Center.
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, request permission to approve a barn or pasture lease with Vault Farms for the Oxford Police Department mounted patrol horses.
And we've got an appraisal on the lease. The appraisal did come back at $1,800 a month, so we're asking that you allow us to enter into a lease with Vault Farms for $1,800 a month for use by our mounted patrol.
All right, move we approve.
All right, any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Accept a revocable license from GSA for East Jackson Avenue Streetscape Project.
As part of the Jackson Avenue Streetscape project, we will have to get on the federal property, on the GSA property, to make some ties with the slopes and whatnot. They won't allow us to do that by revocable license. So we're asking that you allow the mayor to sign the revocable license and accept the revocable license contingent on council approval. I just sent it to them late this afternoon, so they haven't had a chance to review.
Make that motion with legal approval.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right, it was a short meeting tonight. It's election day. You still got 30 minutes, or what time is it? Hour and 30 minutes to go and vote if you've not and you live in Ward 1, 3, or 5. I will ask the board now to consider an executive session.
Move we consider executive session.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.